3, 2, 1, and we are live with Sam Markle and Ron Swanson, and Paula M is going to be joining us shortly.
Yes.
Huge thank you to everyone for spending time with us this evening, and if you have got any questions, this is live wherever you are watching this in the world, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Please put your questions in the chat. And it's great to see Sam back, and this evening we're going to be talking about cancel culture, Russell Brand, the craziness that's going on around the world. Yeah. And you were just telling me, Sam, that in America you don't think it's as bad as the UK.
Yeah. I don't think we're experiencing it as heavily as you guys are. I mean, I think because we're a larger country, because we've got the Senate, we've got Congress, we've got these massive, wonderful, spread out legislative bodies, I feel we're somewhat more protected than you guys are in smaller countries from globalism, from tyrannical rule, from a lot of what's going on right now. And so there's a lot to be said for written constitutions. Yeah.
Yeah, so you think that's insulating you versus what's happening here in Europe?
There have been serious attempts at eroding it. There have been, as you know, when we talk about cancel culture, we talk about censorship. There have been so many attempts at limiting freedom of speech, limiting the right to bear arms. And so, from a globalist perspective, if you want to conquer, you have to divide, you have to demoralize, you have to break down whatever it is that keeps social structure strong. And so we've been seeing these attempts at eroding our strength from every corner of the ballpark, our freedom of speech, our school system. Parents aren't allowed to parent in some places. The government wants to step in and take control to the extent of gender mutilation of children. No, your children can undergo these procedures and you don't have a right to know about it. Like these are pretty heavy duty examples of attempts at destroying our constitutional rights, destroying the rule of law. And pushback works, but here in the United States, in Democrat-run states, it's really harder for parents who want their rights respected, individuals who want their rights respected, to buck that system because the legislators and the governing bodies are, pro-woke ideology. So what do? It works, but God, it's an uphill battle. That's where we're at.
Do you think there's a backlash against it right now that could gain momentum, or do you think it's going to get worse?
I think it's gaining momentum, and I don't know if it's true, but I read an article that said something to the effect of Klaus Schwab panicking that his Agenda 2030 might not come to fruition. I was like, yeah, because really, it's like, no, Klaus Schwab, you eat bugs. I'm not eating bugs. And I think most of us feel that way. And if you want to depopulate, hey, here's a novel idea. Start with yourselves. Don't depopulate us. Go depopulate yourselves. So I think pushback is working here, and that's why he's concerned. As he should be.
Throw a question at you here, Sam. I heard the other day a couple of people debating Biden's administration systematically disassembling the middle class so that there is only two classes left in America, the wealthy and the poor. And they explained it over pipelines that used to run from Mexico to Canada and how they're basically creating the higher oil prices. Do you know anything about that, or can maybe comment on that? Because I thought that was a really interesting point, and I don't know nothing about American politics. So
I think that's straight out of Xi Jinping's playbook. If we look at the fall of Afghanistan, if you look at breaking down of the power structure in terms of who controls the resources globally, the whole Afghanistan thing was targeted at controlling lithium for energy. So Xi Jinping definitely kind of benefited from Afghanistan falling, the Taliban taking over, Great Britain and the United States having to pull out. And, so there's an abundance of lithium, Bagram Air Base, roads that go up to easily transport the lithium. That was all by design. So one of the other, I think, key components to this agenda, I don't think it's just Klaus Schwab. We're also looking at communists and other dictators who benefit from this global partnership, in that they want, and they've made it clear, this is not a conspiracy theory. They have said verbatim that they want to reign superior. Well, on a massive planet with billions of people, how do you do that? You can't really rule people who are spread out all over the planet. So it makes better sense to open up the borders, corral them all in, try to create 15-minute cities, deplete the resources, make it so that they can't really fight and win a war, so that they're all kind of stuck in these congested little cities to rule not only the people, but the resources, redistribute the wealth, make it so people can't afford to compete, in other words. And what that means is that 95, 97 or 8, I think it's more like, percent of the wealth is held by 2% of the population. So you don't have that middle class, because the middle class exemplifies strength. You know, people with middle class have in the middle class have great buying power. They have great political power as a demographic. And so you want to eradicate that if your goal is to globally dominate. And they've been doing it right out of the playbook perfectly. So I think it's all part of, it's all part of the plan. And the other thing too is, it's not a conspiracy to say, hey, they want us to eat bugs. They create sterile youth and prevent us from our normal breeding strategies. They want, the myocarditis. They want us to die and be sickly. I'm just saying this as a matter of opinion, because it suits and it facilitates rather a depopulation agenda. And I'm not imagining a depopulation agenda. Klaus Schwab said in no uncertain terms that he wants to see the global population cut in half by 2030. So how do you do that? You have to make sure that people can't breed. You have to make sure they're poor. If you want them eating bugs, you want them being sickly. You want to corral them all into these crowded cities where crime is skyrocketing. So they'll commit crime and kill each other off. The laws aren't being enforced. The Constitution isn't being upheld and defended. So that being said, everything that's happening is destructive. It's designed to depopulate and to allow the global elite, China, Russia, Iran, to control. And so here we are feeling like we're looking like Venezuela. Why is that? Because we are. I don't think it's a coincidence that Joe Biden went to Venezuela. I mean, I think he got some tips out of the playbook. Here's how you crash your whole country and make it look like Venezuela. And so people walk around the streets here joking that we're going to have to start selling trash bags to live. I don't think it's going to go that far, because thank God we've got Donald Trump, we've got RFK Jr., we have the powers that be who are going to make sure that the deep state doesn't win this and Xi Jinping doesn't win this. I
just want to say there's a lot of support for you, Sam, in the side chat. Can we all put a 1 in the side chat if you would like Sam to hurry up, get our own channel started, and start pushing out content that informs the world like this? Spam us with some 1s, people. Also, while you're spamming, leave a like. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, push the fucking button. It's one of the few things left in 2023. Let's go.
Sam, but I've got to call you to account here. Our politicians told us they were going into Afghanistan for women's rights and to stop the opium.
Of course they were.
Well, okay, I know. And you watched what happened. Remember, Joe Biden didn't even consult with Great Britain before pulling out. I mean, I saw people in Great Britain crying. That was deleterious to Great Britain. Great Britain had no time to plan, no time to pull out. And furthermore, I don't know if you recall this, but Joe Biden met with President Ghani as the Taliban were closing in. Now, let's do this math. He met with President Ghani when an early airstrike would have prevented the takeover of Kabul and Afghanistan entirely. And you know what he told President Ghani? He said, do nothing. Like, who in their right mind says, don't defend your country? Don't defend everything. So between leaving $86 billion worth of high-tech military equipment in the hands of the Taliban. This is a no-brainer. This is like the biggest WTF on the planet. Who does that unless your goal is to totally destroy our national security, our foothold on, resources as a superpower, make us look like fools on the world stage, damage our NATO alliances? I mean, that definitely hurt our relationship with Great Britain. I heard people talking about it. And so, so many lives were lost. Those women who were supposed to be educated were now catapulted back into the brutal hands of the Taliban, meant to cover their faces. They were being slaughtered. They're not allowed to go to school anymore. So how did that work out, Joe Biden? What about that? And even Mark Milley, all of them, Anthony Blinken, what about that withdrawal made sense? What about that withdrawal was good? I don't know. You do the math for me, because I can't work the numbers. It's not there, but it's, nice glazing over it all. It's like putting candy coating on a turd and trying to get people to say it tastes good. No, nothing about that was good.
Can we just say as well, more ones in the chat if you're loving the fact that Sam's not talking about her sister for once, because that is just the best. I just want to point that out too, people. I just want to point that out.
Let's not forget we had over 1,000% increase in the opium, and we've got the psychedelic fish has got the first viewer question of the night for Samantha. What are Sam's thoughts on the US military laying the groundwork to reinstitute the draft?
Ooh, I think that's crazy right now on the grounds that this is not a real war. We don't, we're not defending our own borders. This country has gone to hell in a handbasket by design. None of this was accidental. So we're going to deplete our resources. We're going to shut down some of our best ships, fighter planes. In other words, we're hobbling our military, depleting our resources. We wouldn't be able to fight a war. What do they want to just send our troops overseas just to get rid of them so we can't fight and win a war at home? That makes no sense. Let's put our troops at the border. We don't need a draft. We need to secure America. We need to make sure that this country, for everything that our founding fathers, our servicemen and women have fought and died for, that was not in vain. We need to take care of America first. And that's not selfish. We can't help the rest of the world if we become Venezuela and we are destitute. What the hell is this administration doing? I think it's total treason. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to call it like it is. No draft. That would be ridiculous. And I don't know anybody who would want patriotism, certainly with us megas. But patriotism right now is a scary thing. There are a lot of people who don't feel that sense of inspiration and certainty and unity. Look at the woke military. I don't know a lot of people right now who would want to go even in a draft and go fight a war, especially like Vietnam, like we didn't learn then. Go fight a war wondering what it's for. Why are we doing this? This makes no sense. Our borders are open. We've already overextended ourselves in Ukraine. And I think a lot of people are questioning propaganda that makes Russia look like the bad guy, when really I think Ukraine is integral in a lot of this. And there are questions about slush fund money and where all of that money is going to, because we don't see Ukraine being rebuilt. There are a lot of question marks. So I think that contributes to a decline in patriotism. And a draft would be asinine. I think it would be so treasonous and crazy. Yeah.
Good evening, Paula.
Hello. How are you guys? Hello, Sam. Hello, Sean. Hello, Ron. How are you guys? I've just listened to you, Sam. I mean, I'm Canadian. I don't know if you guys know that. I'm also Canadian, and what's happened in the Canadian Parliament. I don't know if it should be funny or embarrassing.
It's crazy. It's crazy what is going on there.
But what's the worst part of it is the lack of accountability.
You're talking about the Polish guy, right? The whole Polish
the
situation.
The Ukrainian guy
okay.
who was who Parliament proudly introduced as fighting against the Russians during World War II. I mean,
yes.
Even if you don't know anything, you would know who the Russians were fighting against. And
he wasn't Polish; he was Ukrainian, and it's Poland that's asking him to be extradited. My brain got confused there. Yeah, that's an absolute belter. Like, who accidentally invites a Nazi to the party? That's all I'm saying. That is beautiful, beautiful.
No, but two standing ovations. And now everybody's blaming everybody. Oh, no. Yeah. Justin Trudeau, the prime minister, I can't stand. He's such a W-A-N-K-E-R. Now he's blaming the poor guy. The Speaker of the House resigned. It should be Justin Trudeau. The buck stops there with him. Are you telling me that the RCMP didn't veto this guy? I mean, really, are we that bad in Canada? It's so embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've not really touched on any of the main topics this evening. And before we dive into it, Sean, is there any headlines along Russell Brand that we can dip into just so that we're up to date on anything that's maybe popped up before we dive into this?
Well, just to give everybody a summary then of what's happened.
Sure.
So the allegations came out in a Channel 4 program called Dispatches, accusing him of the R word and the SA word, 4 alleged accusers. And, it divided this nation. But over the days since then, more and more people have become suspicious, as we've seen the UK government ask various social media platforms to demonetize Russell. And we have seen Rumble refuse, and the UK government threaten Rumble through Ofcom, even to the point where they said that if Rumble proprietors set foot on British soil, we could throw them in prison. So
wait. What? That one I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, think about that.
There's got to be a mistake somewhere there. They can't.
No, there's not. Think about this, Paula. We're talking about that is what is put on terrorists. Okay, if you're a terrorist to this country and you step foot in Britain and you're a terrorist, we arrest you. This is the CEO of a social media platform refusing to demonetize someone on allegations, now being told they'll be arrested. Just let that wash over your brain for a second.
Good.
And they're saying that Offcom can block Rumble and have the proprietors arrested if they set foot on British soil.
That's the United Kingdom Parliament or the United Kingdom saying that?
UK government.
This is for real.
This is for real.
I have a question, and I was thinking about this morning. I thought, wow, that we're all talking about this, that people are talking about this globally, in terms of actually, canceling a person's livelihood. And it's not just Russell Brand, like what they're doing to Dan Wooten too, what they're doing to anybody who is influential, anybody who is powerful, that gets in the way of the global elite or their agenda, and that inspires people and that gives people alternatives to thinking outside of the woke narrative. It's like they're considered a threat and they're canceled. And I don't mean by canceling like the 1980s definition or the old definition. We're canceling you, therefore we're not associating with you. Oh, it goes way beyond that. It's without even going to a court of law.
Correct.
Where guilt beyond a reasonable doubt has to be shown. We are going to destroy your life. We're going to make sure you can't have friends. We're going to make sure we destroy your professional life, your ability to feed yourself and make money and pay all of your bills. Like, don't you think it's incredibly reminiscent of the 1600s and witch hunts, where without any merit, any evidence, we don't like you. We feel like you're a threat. Maybe you're buying too much land in the area. So we're going to label you a witch. And we're going to have everyone in the town going,
absolutely. Isn't that a fantastic business model, Sam? If you were the evil villain, that's a fantastic business model.
No, it's a model for social mental illness at its ugliest. And I say that because, that's what the courts are for. So now these nut jobs on social media have decided, because they're so narcissistic, we are social media, influencers. We're people, participating. We're trolls banging keyboards is what we really are. We have decided that you're not worthy of living, so we are going to crucify you, and we are going to put ourselves above the courts and the justice system. Get the hell out of Dodge. Who do you nut jobs think you are, vilifying and destroying people because you hear something and you're being reactive, not proactive, and deciding to socially label them to the extent that their lives are destroyed, and you haven't seen an iota of evidence to back up all of this groupthink psychosis that you are caught up in the swell of, but you're going to run with it. Well, I have a question. How the hell would you feel if it was you? How would you feel if you were Russell Brand? No, serious narcissists. How would you feel? I don't know. Maybe you can't empathize, but that's something you need to think about, because guess what? I was thinking about this morning too. It's like Nazi Germany and McCarthyism. When you start to censor and go after people with very little fact and in many cases no merit, first they come for them, then they come for you. And if you think you're so special, Rob Reiner and the rest of you, Alyssa Milano, Whoopi Goldberg, all of you, you're in a business that predicates itself on freedom of speech and expression, and you're demanding that other people can't talk, other people should be censored, other people should be destroyed. You're next in line, pumpkins. And if you think you're not, you better take a good hard look, because all of this is being backed by China and the global elite. And guess what? In China, you don't get to be LGBTQ trans with all of this freedom, running around partying, thinking that the government is doing this for your benefit. So you have all these freedoms and you can silence everyone who's conservative and everyone who doesn't agree with you. You know why they're doing it? They're baiting the hook. They're making you think and run with the ball. They're making you think that this is for you so you can have your freedom while you silence everyone else. But have you noticed in their countries, they don't allow this. They would imprison you or execute you. So when I say you're next, they're not going to let you have freedom of speech when and if they take over. So when you vote for Democrat leaders and you live in a blue state and you think all of this censorship is a good thing, you better ask yourself, am I next? I would bet my life that you are, and you will regret advocating for censorship and cancel culture. That's all she wrote.
Damn. God damn.
I need to ask you something. What is that bill in the UK that's waiting for the royal assent right now? That has to do with censorship or something like, and two things. There's two things. That one and that Northern Ireland guys has, I think they signed a new law that accused people of, SA or R cannot be named until they investigate. Until their things are fully investigated, which I believe is a great thing to do, because people who accuse are protected. And even after the accusations are proven false, they're still protected, while the reputation of these people who are falsely accused is completely canceled. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, what is that bill that has passed Parliament where people are freaking out because it has just waiting for Charles to give it its royal assent, and apparently has to do with censorship.
Well, this is what Russell Brand is talking about, the online safety bill, which has passed Parliament. It's waiting for the royal assent, and then it will become law. And then Ofcom will formally take on our role as the regulator for online safety. They've already threatened GB News. So it looks like a way that Ofcom, which traditionally controlled the TV stations, is now going to be able to control other areas such as GB News on the internet. So they're expanding the control over freedom of speech.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the big problem with that. I agree to a certain extent that with freedom should come responsibility. In other words, I don't think people should be able to get online and engage in defamation, libel, slander, hate speech, or threatening speech. Those, I think, over time, over decades, under the Constitution and most laws, even Old English law. I mean, you have to consider the sources, what likely will be the outcome of certain legislation. And when you allow people just to run around and say whatever they want, it's a recipe for social chaos and danger to others. And by doing that, you're infringing on others' right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness when you step over those boundaries. But I think Ofcom generally, I think some of these bodies now, global bodies that want to come in and limit speech and label everything as disinformation or misinformation, that's a tyrannical control mechanism. So I think we have to draw the line at, does it constitute hate speech? Is it threatening? Is it defamatory? Because you should be allowed to speak your opinion. If you don't like me, I don't really care. You should be allowed to say that. But when you start saying I'm a yada yada, you better be willing to prove it or you can be sued. And I think therein lies the boundary. So Ofcom, though, I think wants to make it so, like, I don't know if you've noticed on Twitter and on Facebook, you can't say certain words. You can't say biatch. You can't say this is crazy. You can't say the cray word. Like, there are certain words, even if you say, I think this is crazy, you'll still get that little flag that says our community doesn't like that. That's against our community standards. Well, screw you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit around and engage in niceties all day. I should be allowed to speak my opinion as long as I qualify it as, this is my opinion. I think that blah, blah, blah. But you can't make false misstatements of fact that are injurious to others, because that becomes defamation, which is different under the law. Ofcom generally, I think, wants to control speech so that we're all, engaging niceties all day long and that we are compliant. Because you don't get freedom of speech in China. You don't get freedom of speech in Russia. And yeah.
But it's to protect the kids, Samantha. That's what they're passing all these laws for.
Well, and but on television, yeah, right. On television and on your devices, that's where you have a little chip, and that's where you can label things. You have a little thing on X that says, you don't want to see sensitive content. You can label some of your material as sensitive so that minors, at least there's a warning. You also have the opportunity on your pages on X and Facebook to accept and reject followers if you know they're minors or you think you are. Clearly, you wouldn't want that kind of following if you are expressing yourself in a very adult, even and political way. So we have the ability to use discretion, and that's another wonderful thing about our freedom, is that, if someone like Ofcom and globalists totally take over, we don't even have the ability to choose not only the material that we want to be exposed to and that we want to produce and how we express ourselves, but we won't have a lot of say in who we allow in and out. Everything will be just blanket niceties so that, 5-year-olds can watch your page. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's appropriate in an adult world. So I think their goal is one of tyrannical control. I don't think there are any valid arguments in favor of general censorship. I think, like everything, it's case by case and in its appropriate context. So if Ofcom was smart, they would be considering that instead of trying to generalize to everything, because then we're done. We're done as an evolving society when someone does our thinking and are speaking for us.
Well, I think we're done anyways, because the laws for defamation are there to begin with. Number two, I think that people now disagreeing with somebody, it's considered hate speech. If you say a lie in public, if somebody says a lie in public and you call out that lie, that's considered hate speech because X person was speaking his or her truth, right? So facts and truth backed by fact is an offense now. You're not allowed to call out somebody and say, wait a minute, but you lied. That's a provable lie. You're not allowed to say that because that's considered hate speech. So I don't believe there should be censorship. I really don't, because I was doing a live today with my members, and that was what the live was about, the whole thing. You, Samantha, you, Sean, you, Ron, We know what people want to watch because we get the views count. If somebody doesn't like what you have to say, don't watch it. They don't. You can see by the people who watch it. You have the power to switch the channel. When I was a young kid, I was my grandpa's remote control. When my grandpa didn't want to watch something, he said, Paula, go change the channel because, that thing didn't exist. So his grandkids were his control remote, and, it's done by the TV, switching the channel, until he got something he liked. Now it's much easier. All you have to do is go up and down the channel or whatever you want to watch. So I don't believe, you see that guy, that gay guy who did that, Smith, his last name is Smith, that everybody was lauding.
Sam Smith.
Sam's a huge fan.
Yeah.
On prime television, there was no censorship. This is the Grammys where teenagers are watching, and he was doing all that vulgarity thing there. So that's okay. But God forbid, we just had a Reverend Calvin from GB News canceled because he dared to say, freedom of speech. You may disagree with Russell Brand. That woman is crazy. That woman, I'm sorry. It is my very humble opinion. I stand by Lawrence Fox. I don't like him. But you know what? He has every right to say, I wouldn't hit that girl. And I actually talked about it in my members. I said, if we go to a war, we're women, and we listen to a guy saying nasty things about women, I'm not going to go up to that guy and say, hey, should I buy you a drink? Of course, because I can hear him trashing women. Yeah. So
when you talk about that, I watched that clip because I hadn't seen it live. I wanted to see what all of it was about. And, to find out that Dan Wooten was suspended so unjustly, I watched that little interlude to slightly laugh under his breath and then brush it off and then say that she's lovely. And it seems like he was diplomatically handling that remark. And still they suspended him. That was terrible. He should be fully exonerated because he didn't say or do anything wrong. And here is what is so dangerous about this psychosis of cancel culture is that, we're not only are we not allowed to think for ourselves, but what they're doing by labeling something as hate speech or something racist that's not racist. In other words, they know what issues raise the hackles of the people. They know what buzzwords will incite the most anger and the most social strain and the most division. And so they use them to apply as labels, not only to cancel people, but to intimidate us as the public into compliance. Like, oh my God, that's hate speech. I better never say that again, or this is going to happen to me. And that's God. It seems like communist China make everybody afraid to open their mouths. And if they do it enough and they use public figures as examples of this, how many viewers is that in a quarter hour or in a program? We're watching so-and-so be canceled and so-and-so be publicly flogged and labeled as racist or hateful and being canceled. That is going to have a massive social effect on everybody watching. And it's called conditioning. It's how to condition behavior, how to condition people into being compliant. It's really terrifying. So I think viewers need to remember when they see that, you know what, the likelihood of that happening to me is not very high. I'm not going to be conditioned because they're using Dan Wooten or Russell Brand or anybody else as an example. They're not going to do that to us as a public. They've got another thing coming if they think they are. People need to be aware and have some spinal fortitude and be strong. And remember your freedoms, remember your intellectual integrity, your God-given freedoms and rights to think and speak as a divine human being. And you can't let anyone take that away from you. And I think it's important when you watch that, remember that. Know what their mechanism is. Know what's behind that propaganda. Know what they're trying to do to you and say, just say no.
Yeah. I just want to interject here, right? We need to just take 10 seconds, sorry. There is close to 700 people here. I've seen so much positive response in the side chat, but we're at 195 likes. What is wrong with you people? Can we just take 10 seconds to go smash? If that doesn't go up to 500, right, I will just cut to a meme compilation for 10 minutes if it has to be done. Okay, so can we get smashing? Can we get sharing? Thank you, please.
I'm sorry, my friend. That's coercion. You simply can't tell them what to do. We can ask and you can bat your eyes, but
there you go.
Well, Ron, you know, like if things happen with Ofcom, it is censorship at its finest, because you have which is guided by politics. I mean, and this is the thing. I live it. I just suffered something about 2 weeks ago, and I mean, I can't say very much. I mean, that's how bad it is. But imagine a third person losing their homes because you opposed a political party, and you go into your home, you leave your home, you drive, you go do your things, and you come back, and you have 4 or 5 military patrols there.
Just be careful.
And you can't even go into your stuff, but they're going to allow you to take some of the stuff that's in the house, because that's political opposition, and people don't understand. And I've been speaking about it, because like any abuse that happens, it starts small, because that's how abusive people start. You know, they start with a little push to see, oh, she didn't react with that push.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit shove harder, and it escalates. It never de-escalates, and it always ends up badly. But you know, Sam, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about it, because it's actually quite scary from my point of view. And I'm Canadian, and I'm watching Justin Trudeau. I'm watching what's happening. I've seen biased media. I'm seeing it in the United Kingdom, having a body regulated by idiots dictate what's going to be pushed out or not. You know, and it's quite scary, because debate, there's no longer debate. And I really hate to say it, but fake news. I really hate to say that, but it's all these fake news that are out there, because we have a government willing to push a narrative because they want to indoctrinate people to think in a certain way. And God forbid you oppose it. And I'm shocked about what you said, Sean, about that people are going to be arrested. I can't. This is the United Kingdom.
From Ofcom, the people that regulate how many swear words you can say on a TV show. Like, let's be honest here. It's not like, if you don't know who Ofcom is, I mean, that's what they do. They regulate media. I mean, it's madness.
Oh my God. I got to ask you a question. Okay. I mean, I do think there's a fine line. I do value the old days of having some material considered lewd and this and that, but you have to leave that up to adults and their discretion as to what they want to see, just not pushing it on children. So when you talk about now Ofcom coming in and wanting to relabel certain words as inappropriate or disinformation or unacceptable, and you juxtapose that with someone like Sam Smith swinging his sausage in children's faces or pretending to be peeing on somebody, you see drag queens rolling on the ground, swinging it in children's faces. You see legislation that says it's okay to mutilate the genitalia of 5-year-olds, and that sodomizing a minor is only a misdemeanor. You see all of this perverted, crazy stuff. Oh, that's acceptable, but you can't say the word dumb or crazy. You know, it's like they want to legislate so they can do whatever the hell they want to do, but conservatives can't have a voice. And more than that, they want you to be intimidated and afraid to speak your mind, and be totally comfortable with them speaking theirs, running around the streets, running across the White House lawn with 10-gallon fake boobs in drag, and saying that your children can have sex changes and get abortion pills at school, and that you have no say in it. So you have no say in the big things. You have no say in the small things. You can't say the word crazy. They just want to control every aspect of life, while they engage in glaring hypocrisy and deviance and do whatever they want to psychotic, satanic levels. And you just have to sit there and you can't say anything. What the hell kind of shit is that? You know what? Come get my booty right now, because I will not comply. I'm a MAGA, and it's not about being a MAGA cult member. You know what being a MAGA means? It means putting faith, family, national strength and unity, security, honesty, not satanic deviance first. And if that makes MAGAs bad, you know, you want to step to the curb, and I'll show you how to get there. The bottom line is conservatives are being pushed out. So it's like back to Rome. It's like back to ancient Rome. So they can lay around in coliseums with young children naked, feeding them grapes and watching people be torn apart in the coliseums as they amuse themselves, hoarding all of the resources, all of the wealth, and controlling the people. That's exactly what they want. Sorry, we're not having it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you something with Ofcom going through. It's waiting royal assent. There's two questions I wanted to ask you. One, is there any backlash? Are people going to the streets demanding in the UK that this stops? Because how can Parliament not even pass that, number one? And number two, why do you think that the Russell Brand accusers are not being named? Is it because they don't want people to find out who they are so they can dig dirt on them? Because everybody has dirt to hide, you know? And so how does that affect you guys in the UK with Ofcom regulating everything?
Well, with Ofcom, the way they pitched it, and you know, they have got the people who are watching the mainstream media signing up for this. They said today is a major milestone in the mission to create a safer life online for children and adults in the UK. Everyone at Ofcom feels privileged to be entrusted with this important role, and we're ready to start implementing these new laws very soon after the bill receives royal assent. We'll consult on the first set of standards that we'll expect tech firms to meet in tackling illegal online harms, including child exploitation, fraud, and terrorism. So as usual, you know, they're marketing it as this great thing that's going to protect us from these threats. So problem, reaction, solution. Response to you, yeah, go for it, Samantha.
No, I want to ask you a question, because while you're on that subject, when you talk about child exploitation, when you talk about terrorism, we want online to be safe, but our streets and our borders are a goddamn disaster. We've got unvetted people from other countries running the streets. You know, laws aren't being enforced. We can't keep on top of it all. Your children aren't safe in the streets, but God, we want it to be safe online.
Yeah.
What a crock of malarkey. You know, and until they start in the UK and the United States, until the laws are enforced, the borders are secure, it doesn't matter what you do with online safety. That's smoke and mirrors. That's a red herring, my friends. Why don't you start with the safety that's important, that really is an issue when it comes to depopulation, when it comes to your family's ability to thrive and be safe and happy. It's not about online, what you can and can't say. That's just ridiculous. It's so, I don't know.
How are people taking it in the United Kingdom? I mean,
that's what I was just going to say. So I don't know if you know this, but the right to protest was removed in the UK. So you now have to apply. If you want to do a protest, you have to apply to where you want to protest, and they'll allocate you a place where you can protest. So that's why people aren't in the streets anymore, because we gave up that liberty for freedom in one of the old, I believe it was when they sanctioned a bill in Parliament that if you question any of the official government reports, you can now be treated the same as a terrorist. And it was all pushed through under anti-terrorism laws. Now, I just want to say one thing as well. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. And it's really important that you let us know if you've got any questions for anybody, or what your views are. Now, before we move on, I just want to say to parents, right? Sam, and we've all touched on internet safety and things like this. It's 2023. You wouldn't give your child who's 10 or 11 a car or a gun or a chainsaw, right? You could if they knew how to operate them properly. You know, you have to get a license for a car. You need to now treat the internet as dangerous as these things. And if you don't think you have the time or anything like that, then you need to seriously ask yourself, what am I doing to keep my kids safe? Because to me, giving your kid a mobile device that is set up, for example, your mobile phone, your tablet, if it is set up for an adult to use, it is the same as leaving your child in Walmart all day alone with a bunch of strangers. I know that sounds harsh, okay, but I've been at this for 7 years now, and people still seem to don't get the message. So, you need to set up your devices for children. And there's so many built-in securities that will keep your kids safe until they're about 10 or 12 and can Google how to get around these things. And peace of mind is massive. But you shouldn't be sitting about waiting for the government to protect your children online. You should be taking control of your online. 100%.
That's a great point. When you talk about just your kids just Googling how to get around things, here's where instead of platforms punishing adults for conservative political speech or for other things and canceling and shutting down their YouTube accounts, why doesn't YouTube make sure they get rid of all the tutorials that teach people how to commit crimes? You can learn how to do anything on YouTube. Why, if YouTube wants to engage in responsible media, instead of flogging and flagging people to cancel because they're not woke, why doesn't YouTube go through the annals, and I will say the annals but anals of their material, their content? So a lot of these tutorials will teach kids not only how to get around it, but how to bootleg devices, how to do horrible things to get around, Apple's restrictions, to get around.
Well,
and a lot of these kids are very smart. So that's where online safety should also be shared by the platforms.
Listen, Sam, I agree and disagree, because in an uprising situation, right, the population needs to educate themselves on things like hacking into devices, getting around these things. It's putting them in improper use that's the problem. But us being able to have restrictions on speech is very dangerous. Us being told what we can and can't say, even if it's horrible shit, okay, it's dangerous, okay, because I believe you have the right to call me an asshole, all right? I believe that that's totally fine, but I have the right to disagree. Okay, do you see what I mean?
Tell me who called you that, and you want to go beat them up.
No, well, listen, where Sam's point comes in about being able to take the law and punish people who are doing defamation of character. People just hide behind aliases, and that's the problem. And I have always said this, it's not the ideas that are bad, it's the people in charge of them. So online passports and all these things that would completely be run by a neo-fascist government that would abuse the power are actually great ideas, because if someone says something horrible about you, sue their ass. But it's the improper use of not just the laws, the courts, and the systems in place that have been abused for decades by the governments.
Yeah, that's a great idea. People shouldn't just be able to open I think that everybody should have one email account. All those that should be
right. That's censorship.
Yeah. You're born, you just get given your Gmail.
No.
Assigned to everything. And you should be able to be on YouTube if you don't have a verified thing with a name. Because I get so much hatred. I get threats. And when I go to
it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
They don't know. I'm sorry.
Paula, I get it. When it comes to how simple the problem of being attacked online could be eliminated by, us being born, Google gives us our email address and our IP, and that is it. And again, brilliant idea, but unfortunately, the evil, like.
I have a proposal. Okay. We can regulate and control ourselves until we're blue in the face, and the bottom line, the material with massive internet, digital technology, it's going to get out there anyway. Why aren't we educating people, especially young people, to use empirical thinking skills? In other words, when you see, like, I can't say, Ron, that you're a hooker, right? But if we want freedom of speech, I have to be able to say it, and you can sue me. But there's still going to be a percentage of the population out there going, oh my God, did you hear that Ron's a hooker? Right. Yeah, so we have to educate people to say, wait a minute. No. We have to educate young minds and people to be proactive rather than reactive and say, what evidence is there for that? What is the source of that evidence? And we shouldn't react until, guilt has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt in courts, or there's enough evidence to sway our empirical minds in the direction of, the likelihood that that's true is pretty good given A, B, C, D, and E. And if you're still not sure, then, there are other ways to verify evidence that you're looking at. But what we're doing today is really dangerous. Look at Russell Brand. We have put social media, the court of public opinion, above our justice system in its ability to influence our behavior, our lives, and also to destroy others' lives. That's very dangerous. So why isn't there some burden? Why isn't there, it used to be innocent until proven guilty. God damn, now it's guilty before proven innocent. Everything is so inverted. The truth has become lies. It's guilt before innocence. Everything is inverted, and I think we need to set everything back upright so that we can function as mankind, because the way it's going now, why you wonder why kids are engaging in suicidal ideation, depression, because the goddamn world is scary, because nothing makes sense. Everything is opposite of what it should be, and we are not being proactive and helping them use their critical thinking skills. A lot of parents, I get that they're busy, but when your kids are exposed to this shit and it terrifies them, you don't let it go in one ear and out the other. You help them with their empirical thinking skills to say, look, don't be afraid of that, because that might be floating around out there, but there's not evidence for that. The world's not ending tomorrow. We've got Chicken Littles running around out there trying to intimidate you so that you're afraid to think and speak. And you know what? You got to be strong, your faith, your values, and not let that terrify you into not existing. And I think that's where we failed kids and ourselves as a society, is we are so immediately influenced by and reacting to this psychotic, unfounded, illogical crap. It's like being bamboozled. I mean, there's so much chaos all at once. The human brain can only process so much at a time. It's really scary. Yes. So we need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and say, what evidence is there? I'm not going to judge Russell Brand because I haven't seen that evidence, and I'm going to let the courts decide, because that's their job.
Do you not think, though, children have been passively conditioned to not question now? I mean, I heard a podcast the other day, American guy talking about how we're living in a society where today's teenagers and youths, they're too scared to even engage in the usual teenage, frolicking for fears of having a case thrown at them or being accused of something. Or we've just recently had a case here where a young girl was stabbed to death at a bus stop for turning down a guy, and it's now been completely pinned on Andrew Tate. Apparently, because of toxic masculinity, this little girl died. It's unbelievable. I genuinely wish we could have a panel of like 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds from the UK and America discussing what the youth culture is actually like. And I don't mean from an academic research point of view. I mean from their mouth, because I think we would all be shocked to the core.
You mentioned Andrew Tate. For some reason, called it the Latin culture, but I like a man who's a man. I taught my son, you open the door, you don't let a woman carry anything. You say, thank you, please, ladies first, elderly first. My son opens the door for me. And Andrew Tate is accused of toxic masculinity. I can live with that, but Russell, you still haven't answered whether or not there's any backlash. And I wonder if Charles is going to be signing that, given its royal assent, number one. And number two, how does that affect you guys in the UK? Like, you guys, you're in the UK. The UK, does it regulate YouTube in the UK? How is that? And I'm worried because I'm Canadian, is that going to follow to Canada now?
I'll be honest with you, right? And we can't talk too much about it. But I know a guy on YouTube, right, who went through legal stuff just as a YouTuber, right, that was so insane, okay, that it scared me, because it was 100% based off of facts, public knowledge, and him being a journalist. And he was in court, and the whole channel was affected. And do you have any idea how fucking mad that is? Like,
yeah.
Like,
but
seriously.
Is that what Offcom? That's the impact Offcom is going to have on you guys?
No, listen, it's weird. Here's the weird thing, Sean. Did you not see the video about YouTube lifting the veil on the R word and discussing?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I got it.
Is it not a bit weird that has happened right as all of this is breaking? Is there about to be something on Monday where a whole bunch of new child victims involved in Channel 4, the BBC, is allegedly going to be unveiled, and they're preempting us being able to talk about it, almost as if they want to show, like, we're with the free speech, just so you know, you can talk about this now. It is so web of lies, conspiracy. It would see if this was a Netflix series, we'd all be switching off after 3 episodes going, there's no way people believe this could happen. Seriously.
Can you stop Charles from giving its royal assent? That's what I'm asking, because in order to become law, Charles has to sign it and seal it. Can you prevent him from doing it? Is there any way to stop
Do you think the royal family allegedly would want to allegedly protect kids, children, and the royals? Not a great track record, allegedly.
It's a done deal. It's a done deal, I think, Paula.
And with Harry and the Aspen Institute, which is aiming heavily for censorship in the USA, why can't the victims of, I heard that Kevin Spacey, the actor, won his court case, was found innocent in the UK, yet the people who accused him are not allowed to be named. Now, basically, his life, and from what I understand, he's been sued for $30 million from Netflix or whoever did the House of Cards, I think, because they immediately canceled him based on accusations without any investigation, just what happened to Johnny Depp. And now, but the people who accused them walk away free without being named nor shamed. And I don't know if they have any legal repercussions. Are they going to be put in jail for falsely accusing a man who is going to be responsible to restore his livelihood? I mean, and now we have Russell Brand. Will the same thing happen if the police named public without investigation?
There's no consequences here for the accusers, so there's nothing to lose, so they could just say whatever they want. And my question for you guys is, how are the journalists in America reporting this? Because here in the UK, the mainstream journalists are saying that Russell Brand is the next Jimmy Savile. What are they saying in the American outlets? Samantha?
I don't think Russell Brand is big in the United States.
No, I think from what I'm seeing is that it's pretty clear that this is a political witch hunt. That's our take on it here. And yes, I watch conservative news stations, but I also try and watch news from around the world to get a balanced view. And Paula brought up something really important. Sorry to step off the track a little bit. When you were talking about Harry being involved in the Aspen Institute, and you're talking about some of his and his wife's attempts at infringing on freedom of speech and engaging in censorship, being the disinformation, this or that. I got to say to that, firstly, when you look at a couple who have paid PR to say whatever they want and shape social perception, when you look at a couple who in their own publications and interviews have taken it upon themselves to lie about, defame, and disparage others and to purposely injure others, like these were not accidents. For Harry to at one point say that freedom of speech, our First Amendment rights are bonkers. Wow, he sure enjoys that freedom of speech to do whatever he wants to do, and so does she. So how bonkers is it, Harry? You're loving it. You're using it. So why are you calling it bonkers? Oh, that's right. Because you want to be able to say whatever you want. Typical hypocrite, in my opinion. And you don't want others to be able to say anything negative about you, which brings us to those children who you tried to silence, who reportedly had to sign NDA saying they wouldn't talk on social media or anywhere and say anything negative about you and your wife. Who do you think you are? First of all, let me tell you something. You're in the United States against Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, swinging around a royal title. against the Constitution. It's a conflict of interest, and you're slinging it around to interfere in American politics. That's prohibited conduct. Several congressmen, Jason Smith, have pointed out and asked that titles be stripped because you're using your titles to affect American voting decisions and social behavior. No, wait, Harry, guess what? You're out of your league. You can't do it. Your title should be stripped. And I don't know about your special visa, in my opinion, but you're way overstepping your boundaries. And more than that, you're demonstrating by your own behavior that you are an incredible hypocrite. So you want to abuse our constitutional freedom of speech while you badmouth the Constitution. Step off, and your wife can do the same. You can't do it. You can't do it with titles. Your wife is an American citizen, and you have no business speaking about American politics, especially freedom of speech.
Here's an interesting one, right? You touched on the fact that the modern cancel culture reflects witch hunts and things like this. And it's very interesting that cancel culture was almost a power given to people during the lockdown period where, you know, we could go after SA and child predators and things like this. And, you know, it was empowering to us. And it's almost as if that's been allowed to happen to condition us so that when cancel culture attacks people like Russell Brand, we just think it's the norm. It's very, I was just sort of thinking that over when you said witch hunt, because that's a beautiful thing if you are the New World Order, to be able to not have to use a legal system, saving wads of cash there, just to point that out, wads of cash. You can destroy somebody once they get big enough to sway a vote, which is what I think is the main thing. If you're 20-odd million followers over the platform Brand had, and if you wanted to turn around and go vote for Jimmy or Stevie, then you could. And I think that is where these takedowns take place. And the witch hunt analogy is so spot on. And obviously we've said that all along, but when you actually think about the witch hunt and what went on back then, you nailed it. And what an incredible tool to be used. You know what's
terrible? That everybody knew for 20 years. Well, Russell Brand was catering to the woke left. It was fine. And he was even celebrated for his quirkiness. Yeah. Oh, he's an odd fellow. He's quirky. I mean, I look at Russell Brand. I don't agree with him. I don't like him. I can feel the bugs coming out of his body. That's how filthy he looks. You know, I'm sorry. But he's entitled to speak his mind. But while he was praising the woke left, the degenerate spews of everything, it was fine. He was a quirky guy who was heralded. I remember he would come in all the talk shows, especially when he met Mary Katy Perry. And now, you know, as soon as he turned, he cleaned up his life. He quit drugs, from what I believe. Now he's the evil guy who's calling. And the worst part of it all is that he has owned up his past. It's not like it's not like your sister Samantha, who's trying to clean up her past. You know, this guy said, "Yeah, I did this, I did that, and I'm sorry." You know, shit happened. You know, I was really high up. So it's not like he's trying to hide anything. So, but now for 20 years, nobody called it out. In fact, it was celebrated. It's just now that he's speaking out against these people. That now he's
Exactly. If the left are engaging in egregious, deviant behavior or speech, and it's the trendy thing for the moment, and they're not going against the ideologies of the politicians that seek to control, then it's perfectly fine. It's socially endorsed. It's cool. I mean, remember Madonna and Kathy Griffin? There were public figures, celebrities who came out and threatened Donald Trump in gruesome ways. Said that they wanted to kill so-and-so. They wanted to do this. Yeah. No, nobody went and arrested her and labeled her a terrorist or an imminent threat. What the hell was up with that? Because they're celebrities who have a lot of DNC pull and backing and money behind them. You know, the George Soros, the Klaus Schwab. If they're on the left, they can say whatever they want. And to get back to your point, when they silence someone like Russell Brand or the celebrities who are the most powerful and influential, and they know that they're using them as examples, they know by doing that, they can easily control all of the plebes, the peasants, the rest of us. So then it's easy. You're right. They go straight to the top for the example, and then they've got the rest of us like on our knees like Uyghurs, complying and afraid to, lift our eyes up and talk.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something, Sean. Sorry, Sean, now that you're a new father, congratulations, by the way.
You've not seen Ziggy yet, have you? Let me see if Ziggy's available. 1 second.
Yeah. Whilst you're getting Ziggy,
a normal father or parent response. Proud of his kid.
I just want to throw this out there. I just want to keep everyone on site and objective here. You're allowed to be disgusted by Russell Brand, hate Russell Brand, not support Russell Brand. But trust me, what is happening allegedly to Russell Brand is worse than Russell Brand. So once we discover the truth, then we can all argue about who was right and all of that. But we need to stay objective. And, we're allowed to have a difference of opinion on what we feel about someone, but we need to focus on the bigger picture as well. So oh, look at that guy.
God, he's so beautiful. I just want to eat it. Mom, oh my God.
Oh, I mean, look.
He's less than 3 months. He holds his head really well.
He looks like he's constantly looking. He looks like he's constantly looking at an employee and disappointed with the employee. He's like looking at me right now, like, what do you mean you didn't hit your target?
He's so adorable.
Now he wants to talk.
Congratulations. He's so beautiful.
Don't you
he looks so alert too. He's so alert. He's so cute.
He's trying to grab that microphone, man. He's trying to grab that microphone. He's waiting. I think he's is he 13 days? No, he's 13 pounds. He must be about a month now, I think. We'll get a more accurate birth.
Yes, I want to know because he's holding his head pretty well.
He's just adorable.
Like 3 or 4 months.
I just want to reach.
But usually at that age, they can't hold their heads. How old is he, Sean? How old is he?
1 month. 1 month, and he's 13 pounds.
There you go.
But he holds his head pretty well.
Yeah, he's strong.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing him. He's so adorable. But now that you're your father, how does this affect you? What's going on? How do you see your future for your son like this?
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, the things that we're talking about, it's one thing to hope that there's going to be changes in our lifetimes, but then you think, what are you leaving behind? How's this world going to look for your kids? So it adds a whole new impetus to the mission that you're on.
Oh yeah, it's enraging, I think, is the less educated response to that. It's completely enraging, and it's weird because I think traditionally parents we tend to worry about our kids, but traditionally there was so much more worry for girls traditionally than boys, just my mindset. But now it's so leveled between, kids just getting torn apart for views, abused online, the online bullying, all of it. It is insane. And although we're trying to pass laws to keep kids safer, again, if it wasn't a bunch of insane individuals writing and using these laws, I'd fully support them. So make sure you protect your kids yourself, parents. Don't wait for the government.
Not easy. We're not being paid. We want to express our opinions, but thanks for asking. But I wanted to ask you something, Sean.
Sam, go ahead.
Your mother, when you were growing up, I was raised with a very firm set of values, which I passed on to my son, right? But nowadays, even being a parent, I kid you not, guys, one of my girlfriends in the United States, her daughter, we're FaceTiming, and her daughter is in her like 14 or something. And she's like, get ready to go to school. And then the mother goes, if you don't get ready to go to school, I'll take your phone away. And the girl looks around and I'll listen you because I have a right to my phone. And I said to my friend, well, I'm not going to repeat what I said to her. And I said, why don't you send her over to me here and I'll train her. When she gets back to the United States, she'll be saying, yes, thank you. I'll take her to the school that with
5 minutes they would last, Paula. 5 minutes in the world of Paula, the average pain in the ass American teen would last minutes, if not seconds.
They walk away.
So Sean, so you guys, since we're talking about kids and, what their futures will be like, we talk about censorship. We're talking about Offcom. We're talking about a world where there is some elite governing body deciding what we can say and what we can see, what we can be exposed to. What's really bizarre about that is that right now the censorship, again, as we've discussed, seems to be focused on censoring conservative values and censoring those things that keep us strong and safe and aware as mankind, as people, right, as societies. But they're not censoring the things that are deleterious. For example, like when you have kids, it's really scary to me because I know my kids, when they were in school, they weren't seeing books before they were in 6th grade, sometimes even younger. And there are schools in America that will not pull those materials from the shelves. I mean, even in Florida, we've been adamantly pulling those books, not me, but the governor and school administrators have been making sure that those books aren't being seen by kids. And the propaganda and the left media were saying, oh, that Governor DeSantis, oh, in Florida, they're Nazis. They're pulling real history books from the shelves. No, bullshit. We're not pulling real history books from the shelves. We're pulling books encouraging.
Because it's like cattle who gets herded into a corral. You know that this is where you're going to stay and you're not going to move out of it. And we much rather promote these things that are harmful, but we're not going to do this because these things are good for you, make you think for yourself, and make you question the things that we're trying to corral you into thinking. And that's the world you have, Siggy. I don't know how you're going to do it, Siggy.
Samantha, I interviewed someone about TikTok recently, and they said, you know, like you're talking about all these videos promoting this mindless behavior in America that they're pushing, their algorithm pushes. But in China, the algorithm pushes the kids studying engineering, studying all these positive activities so that the American kids are stuck on the mindless stuff and the Chinese kids are getting all the educational stuff.
Case in bloody point. When you look at, no, seriously, when you look at who is underwriting everything that goes on politically and socially in America right now, it's China. China has said that they want to reign superior. So their borders are not wide open. They're not letting their children's genitals be mutilated. They're not dumbing down their children in schools. They're not letting their children get abortions in schools. They're not letting their children do any of these things. They're not letting their children watch the crap that facilitates a depopulation agenda that our children watch on TikTok. Why? Because they want us depopulated. They don't want our children strong, reading, thinking for themselves, and they don't want them globally competitive. They don't want them excelling in school. They want their students to be the smartest, not American students. That's why we've done this CRT crap. That's why we've removed academic standards. That's why you don't have to take entrance exams or exit exams for many major universities. They want us to be stupid so that we can't compete. And anybody who doesn't see that agenda, I think, there's a logical string problem. God, that's such a good point.
I agree. And you know what? It's interesting. It's an awful big distraction what we're talking about when you consider the bio-DNA race that's going on between America and China right now. Go and Google it. It's big brain, painful science stuff.
What's that? What did you say? Google?
You want to go and Google the race between China and America on the DNA battle, the DNA war that's going on for genetic... it's not genetic warfare, but it's the new Cold War that it's been declared as, okay? And effectively what it means is you could make a weapon, right, arguably, in the future, if you just wanted to target, white Americans and just leave the infrastructure in place and release a gas that just kills genetically specific individuals. Go and check that out. So, that's a very fear-mongering way of putting it, but there's more to it.
No. That's a great point, especially especially after the pandemic, when now they want to send you these at-home COVID tests. You take the swab, you stick it in your nose, you get your DNA all over it, and you put it in the mail. And a lot of these companies I've seen, some of them are in California, Some of them are actually in China. Guess what? I'm not giving you my DNA so that you can do
Right.
that.
Do you know who
Sorry,
owns the
not
biggest,
having
the
it.
biggest, the biggest DNA company that launched in the last 10 years is owned by Google. It was being pushed before the lockdown situation by YouTubers. It was a whole family tree. It's been pushed as, hey, we'll map your family tree. Just swab yourself and send it to Google. But anyway, we won't delve into why Google wants our DNA too much on this chat, because again, that sounds like one for Rumble.
Can Russell Brand demand to have the accusers made public? Can that be done?
So there's very strict laws in the UK about naming people that are involved in these kind of allegations. For example, on my channel, I interviewed a woman and she let slip the name of a minor involved in a case like this. I was called into the cop shop, and because I published it on my platform, I was criminalized. I had to agree to a caution, and now if people come on my channel and talk about their own stories of surviving these things, there's certain restrictions. I have to ask them whether they waive their anonymity, etc. Otherwise, I go to prison. That's how strict the laws are in the UK on anonymity.
And just to clarify, the case that you were discussing was public, about 2 decades old, was all over the internet, all over the news. The news had run the names. We all know about it, but you got.
But this is the part that I don't get. Like, again, we go back to Kevin Spacey, who lost everything because these accusers, and he was declared innocent, and the accusers, and it went through a court of law. And they are still not allowed to be named. Shouldn't there be, like, after this happens, that the accusers are named and they're prosecuted and they are responsible throughout?
Yeah, but what if he is guilty and they got it wrong?
No, but we're saying he's been found innocent in a court of law.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is sometimes the courts get it wrong. So in a situation
it doesn't matter. This is why they have the court of law. You have people, but
Paula, and in a court of law, they have to go into the courtroom. They have to show their ID. They have to verify that they are a legal entity making this complaint, these allegations, or these charges. And so what I'm saying, this reminds me of, it's like all of this bullshit now in the media where some journalists, and there are a lot of them, especially in the left, can write whatever stories they want. They can say horrible defamatory things about people, and then they can say sources say.
Yes,
well, no,
correct.
I guarantee most of the time when you see that, there are no sources, or they would name them, and then they can say, "Well, we want to protect our sources."
Yeah,
but you're doing, but wait a minute, no, you don't get to do major damage to someone unjustly while you protect some made-up source. So, are those sources more valuable than the person you're destroying with your publication just by saying sources say and then spewing a bunch of vitriol? So it's got to be fairness and kindness has to be generalized to the person you're doing the story about, as well as to your damn sources or alleged sources.
Correct.
Well, there's a loophole here whereby we had a lawyer on last week who actually represented Schofield. He dropped in that at the end of the live. But the lawyer said that Russell Brand can sue for defamation, etc. But because the Times and Channel 4 both sent letters to him, giving him an 8-day notice of right of reply, and because he's a public figure and it's in the public interest, he wouldn't possibly win. So by protecting themselves, by setting that up legalistically, they can then say whatever they want about him and publish it, and he could sue, but he can't possibly win. That's what this lawyer said.
Correct.
Yeah, but can he say, I don't want you to publish anything about me because this is unproven, and if you do, I'll take you to court for it because I've asked you not to because this is an accusation?
Not here. They give you a right to reply, and then they add your reply to the story.
And that's it?
That's it.
Fucking justice, baby. Do you know what I'm saying? Madness.
And what about this reverend who's been suspended, Calvin, and because he basically stood up for freedom of speech? I mean, he wasn't sticking up for either of those two men. He was sticking up for whether we agree or disagree. We are entitled to listen to what they say, and censoring is not the best way to squash an idea. It's actually discussing it.
Also, why are we not at 500 likes yet? I mean, it's been like 40 minutes since I mentioned this. Can we just...
Fred Witherow said, why didn't he super injunction? Can they do that?
I don't think that was an option at that point in time.
No, you know, I wondered too, when we're talking about touchy subjects like this, there are a lot of people out there who are paranoid and who think, oh, the government is tracking us. So if we click that we like on something, they're going to track us down as if we're part of that. I mean, there are a lot of people that think like that, but a lot of people now, as we have said, have been intimidated into not only speaking their minds, but liking on things because they don't want to be corralled into that and suffer backlash.
You know the government's watching us all, though, right? Like, I know you did.
I don't care.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm
Here,
just making sure.
Look at here, Gov. Look at my butt. You know, it's like I don't care.
Yeah.
Karen has said. Karen, who's a lawyer who's watching, she said that if Russell Brand had replied and exercised his right to reply, his reply could then be used in court against him if the allegations went to court.
Justice again, once again. Another applause for the justice system.
But I've got a question for our Americans here.
What I don't understand is why, after if it's proven innocent, why aren't those people named? For example, you said you were called to the police after 20 years or so. This case is famous and everything. Why aren't they named? And why is the victim? Because then the person who was wrongly accused becomes the victim.
Because every court case in this country has different legal restrictions, and if a judge puts a restriction on the name, you cannot publish it or mention it. Otherwise, you go to prison.
So Karen, who is the lawyer who is watching, that being said, if your reply can be used against you in court, it should be legal, and there should be some safety mechanism whereby you can reply to the publication and say, I will only reply with my attorney, and you should have some blanket protection. And there should be an attorney with you in and during or representing you in that reply if they can use it in court. So by saying in advance, we're giving you the opportunity to reply, they should also be required by law to give you the opportunity to reply with or through legal counsel. Because otherwise it's against otherwise you're at a disadvantage legally, and that's not right. So
we've all got to stop. We need to just accept the fact that these governments that are apparently the ones in charge of giving us fair trials and all this stuff, these are the individuals that we all talk about as being these horrendous rings against children and all the rest. Exactly why you are saying these things are set up for us all to fail is by design. It's by design because of the individuals in charge. I can't say the words because I'm on Sean's channel and I'll get a slap. But we all know the P word and the circle that is an R word that these P words can organize. You've all seen
attracted to kids. Adults attracted
to kids. Okay, all right, okay, Jesus. Right, so you've seen the John Wedger series. I mean, the stuff that John Wedger and I are rolling out over the next few weeks is so terrifying. I have never been as scared as I am as a journalist as I am right now. And I spent 7 years shutting down human
travelers ring.
Transporters.
Horrible individuals on the dark web.
Human travelers ring.
Here's where we all have some power. With whoever the platform is, if you're worried that, they're going to shut you down and that you can be legally sanctioned and they're pushing a woke narrative and you're speaking out against it, well, why doesn't everybody boycott their sponsors? Because if they're hit in the pocketbook, they'll start respecting the users on the platform for speaking their mind more rather than being dominated by the woke corporations that pay their bills. So if you're boycotting those sponsors and not buying their products, you're hurting their bottom line, and you do have some power, but most people don't think about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
You know what, Sam? That's exactly what I talked on my members live today, that they make you feel, because people think only in one person and singular. They make you feel like you have no power. And I said to them, strength in numbers. And if you hit their bottom line, they will respond to you because you're hitting their bottom line. Because believe you me, we are not powerless. We're not powerless. strength doesn't, you know, when they say the royal family only cost a person £1.14 or $1.42 or pound a year, that's really nothing, right, per person? But there are over 86 million people there.
Yeah.
And everybody's given £1 something. Yeah. Do the math. Add the numbers. It's just £1 a year. Add the 86 million or so, over a little bit over 86 million people doing that. It strengthens in numbers, but they want to make you feel as though there's nothing you can do. That they have to,
you know. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paula. Sorry.
Well, talking about this.
Well, we're talking about you. You're on YouTube, you guys, and you bring up a good point. You know, if you're on a platform that you feel is so restrictive that you are being a sock puppet to the left because you can and can't say this or that, while they're pushing their deviant, perverted agendas, and that's just fine all over YouTube. That's psychotic. It's hypocrisy. It's such a glaring contradiction in terms. So let them know that you can go to Rumble. You know, there are other platforms where you can do that. And if they lose all of their people and all of their followers, and therefore their sponsors aren't able to sell their products, they'll give you more freedom and respect that, because they don't want to lose everybody to Rumble or to another platform that respects freedom of speech and expression.
Yes, I agree, but sadly, if we avoid sponsors, we live in a world where the demons that run the world will create a product that looks like it's the next best product that goes against the old product that we're avoiding, and we'll consume that. And they'll buy Rumble. Someone will walk in with a shotgun to the CEO and go, "Take the billion, okay? Or we'll leave this note beside your body," and it'll be consumed. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, okay? But there's a good chance.
But you can't be forced into compliance because you're worried about that statistically unlikely scenario. You still have to realize that their money is their bottom line.
I'm not saying you're wrong. The most powerful thing we have against these people is what we're doing right now. This thing, the face hold. Having a voice, educating yourselves, not taking what these individuals tell you as fact. Yes. Go out, take 10 minutes. When you're sitting on the toilet, actually investigate some shizzle. Don't just have your opinions handed to you. Don't teach your kids to have their opinions handed to you. Teach them to question and investigate. Sorry, that was a bit.
Not only that, but people are blatantly lying, and the press goes along with the lies. You know, they know that these people are blatantly lying. I mean, and this is intelligence. This is gaslighting to the worst. I mean, we know that these people are lying. I mean, it's proven that they're lying.
It's so,
look at Paula, you and I, we've all talked about this before, but I think people get so busy they forget. When you look at the media, you look at all of those powerhouse publications, you look at people like Murdoch, you look at George Soros and Klaus Schwab. George Soros, I guess, nephew Alex, who says he wants to be worse than George. They're all so powerful. They all have a lot of money in a lot of these PR firms, a lot of these publications. So you know that a lot of what you see is going to be propagandized in the direction of their ideologies, of their 100%. Narratives. And don't watch them, don't buy their sponsors' products if you don't agree with that. And it's so easy for us to be lazy on the couch with the remote and think, I don't agree with this, it's a bunch of crap, or whatever, I'm going to sit here. And then they get the quarter-hour share ratings and they still have the viewership. You know what? I think we're responsible for a lot of what we're being programmed to accept by sitting there passively accepting it. Change the channel if the messages, if you don't agree with the messages, because if you don't change the channel, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you don't change the channel, they're still getting their way, they're still making the money, and they don't care whether you agree with them or not. You have to show that you don't agree with them by your spending behavior and by your viewership.
Look at what just happened with Burger King and Rumble, because when Rumble rejected the UK government's letter, Burger King stopped being involved with Rumble, and now Russell Brand supporters are boycotting Burger King.
Yes. All right, I love that. I just want to say,
there you go.
God.
I can't answer that question here, because what we actually need to do, and if I was to explain it, is so against all of the terms and conditions of all social media platforms for what I would incite, I can't discuss it. So sadly, we're not at a state where we can turn the ship through signing things.
Okay. You
know,
I still don't understand why people don't just run to the streets. I mean, what is the police going to do in the UK? People run to the streets peacefully and saying, you know what, we don't agree with what Parliament did. And what the hell is the UK Parliament passing these laws? Why aren't the people who elected?
Did you never hear about the Million Mask March? So for a few years, there was more than 1 million people protesting once a year in London that had no coverage anywhere in the world. The BBC was smashed into the town. London was desecrated by Anonymous. These guys with the masks on, protesting against everything we're talking about now, and they had preempted all of this. So protest is only useful when it's acknowledged. And these protests weren't even acknowledged. They got 30 seconds on the news, but they were massive. And that's the problem. It's
over 1 million people demonstrated in London against the invasion of, I think it was Iraq, one of those countries. Yeah. And the government took absolutely no notice.
Yep.
So what are you guys going to do now in the UK, Sean and Ron? I mean, what are your options in the UK? I mean, literally, Sean depressed me right now and said that it was a done deal because I don't think Charles has enough honest to say, you know what, that's a bit too much. I'm not going to sign this, because if he doesn't sign it, it doesn't become law, right? And there's no way to petition Charles not to sign it.
Back in a minute.
No, I think it's just going to coast through, to be honest. This has been a long time in the making. I mean, our hopes are things like, Elon Musk making Twitter better. Have you found that Twitter has become better for you, or?
Absolutely. I mean, they restored my account. I was banned because
doesn't get better than that.
I was banned because I said I don't believe Meghan Markle. I believe she's going to take off within a year, if not less. And she's going to use the thing. And I was called the racist word. I was called you old hag, envious of everything, and I was suspended for hate speech permanently.
Wow.
And then I was surprised. I woke up one day and my son said to me, Mom, you're back on Twitter. And I'm like, what? I said, are you sure, Henrik? And he goes, yeah, Mom, you're back on Twitter. You suddenly appeared. And I wrote to them, and they said to me, your account was canceled by mistake. We reviewed your account. I was permanently canceled because I said I don't believe Meghan Markle. I believe that she's using the royal family and she's a fraud. And that was it for me. That was, I didn't even get a warning. I didn't get anything like this was at the height of Meghan Markle crazy frenzy people. And so, Sean, I actually hire a lady who has a PhD in genealogy from the States. And I've done Meghan Markle's genealogy. Tomorrow is Nigeria's Independence Day. And I'm going to host a live tomorrow with the genealogist results. And we're going to discuss that. This lady has a PhD. She's very well educated. But we talk about the lies that are out there and they're pushed. I'm still in shock that what you said about the Ofcom thing, I still don't believe it. Are you sure that that's what they said?
Yeah, they're just introducing more and more laws so they can control the narrative and classify things as misinformation that they don't want people hearing about.
No, but I've got a question. They're going to arrest people if they are.
Well, Ofcom, they're saying that Ofcom has not showed its teeth yet, and that Ofcom is now going to start to be really forceful in what it's doing. But I've got a question for you, because a lot has gone on with Trump recently. We've seen this court case where his businesses have been labelled as they're embellishing the value of the assets, and the judges ruled against them. Do you have any thoughts on all that?
Of course. I don't like Trump. I didn't even like The Apprentice. But because of what's happened to me and where I live right now, I can tell you that whenever you turn your political opponents into enemies and you start persecuting them and you start creating trials and stuff like that to prevent them, or while allowing the other side to do the same or worse, people should wake up. Trump for almost 40, 50 years, never a court case against him. Suddenly, He ran for president. He won. He called everybody out. He's doing everything against everybody. And now he wants to run again. And how many cases does he have?
Countless.
Against him, like 8 or 9 cases. Now they have indicted his daughter. Why aren't people more concerned about it? And you know what's the worst part of it all, Sean, is that the more they prosecute him, the more popular he gets. There was this black gentleman in the United States has been laughing. He's funny. He goes, "Oh my God, he was, when they took the mugshot. I think that was the most viewed thing ever, the mugshot." I was laughing. And they went to the streets and they were asking, the black population, the African American population, what do you think? Oh, he's my bro, he's my. If I wasn't voting for him before, I'm voting for him now. It's like he's one of us.
So do you think he's going to win? Because even though you say you didn't like him, he's macho, isn't he? Versus what we've got now.
Well, I don't know if you've seen. Do you know who Dave Chappelle is? He did a Saturday Night Live thing, and he was asking where a star was born when he did his debate with Hillary Clinton, and she's like how she goes, he doesn't pay taxes, and he goes, of course I don't. I use the same laws that your donors are using. Change the laws if you don't want people. But the way Dave Chappelle did it was really funny because he came on stage. He admitted he's using the laws that allow him not to pay as many taxes as possible. Everybody was shocked. Everybody's shocked at the things that he says. Because he doesn't think like a politician. He thinks like a businessman doing deals. What's the best deal for the United States? We're paying too much money for NATO. We're paying too much money for this. How is America, the United States, making money? Why are we paying all this money? I remember when he sat at that table. I have worked with international organizations, and he sat at that table and he said, "The United States is paying too much money. We're not going to pay anymore." And it's like.
Okay, I just want to say to everyone, Sam's had technical issues, but she wants to say goodbye to everybody here on the phone. So, Sam, you're live.
Hey, everybody. I just want to thank you for being part of this and for thinking and for feeling and for speaking and expressing yourselves. My God, keep it up. We need more of that. I really appreciate it. No, I didn't get censored. My device died, so my apologies. Next time, I'll make sure that I've got enough battery for days and days and days. Thank you so much. God bless. Thanks for all.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Samantha, Samantha's a great example of someone who the press has defamed. And they haven't cared about the fact that she has advanced MS. How, for me, where my heart broke when I saw her outside of Buckingham Palace in the sun, outside in her wheelchair, trying to hand a letter over to her sister. And nobody thought, my God, poor lady. Everybody vilified her even more. That's the kind of culture that this climate is creating. We're losing compassion, our compass for moral values, our critical thinking, saying, wait a minute, why is a lady in a wheelchair? Nobody has had any compassion to Samantha or her plight and what her family's going through. Nobody. And we're okay with that. People are okay with that. Samantha has had to move 4 or 5 times. She's been threatened. Her life has been threatened. Meghan Markle has turned her own daughter against her, and it's okay. What do you think, Sean?
So, are you in California?
Right now?
Yeah.
No. Right now I'm in Central America. I have my school here, and I'm Canadian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My house was taken away a couple of weeks ago because of free speech. So
what? Tell us that story.
Paula, just be careful. Just be careful. That's too much already.
All right, don't tell us that story. Don't tell us.
But this is why I said to you that you guys are walking a very slippery rope. I traveled between Norway and Canada and Central America. I have a school here that I fund for kids and stuff like that, that to help them get out of poverty and stuff like that. That's why I'm here, really. That's the only reason, because otherwise, after last week or 10 days ago, I would have left. But
Wow.
I'm trying to see how I can wrap that up and make sure that the kids are safe and have a place to go, or they're looked after, and probably I would leave. I will leave, unfortunately. But yeah, so I do know what freedom of speech or not having any does to a country, to a person. And
Right.
it's heading there, and you guys, I mean, Sean, your channel, you're huge and you're afraid of censorship.
Yeah, because I've lost the channel twice.
Yeah. I think it's more homelessness that's the fear, as opposed to losing the channel, to be honest. I think it's just like fucking Sean having to go and sign on and go down to the job centre would be...
We've got to think about Ziggy here.
Yeah, we do. You know what I'm saying?
My God, what a
As
cute
well,
kid. You have such a cute kid. He looks a lot like his mom,
apologies to the lady who said I looked scary because of how poorly lit I was. Okay, it's the best I can do. I like looking a bit ominous, to be honest.
No, but you you, Sean, you now have a kid, right?
Yeah.
So this is a very interesting question. Would you submit to censorship and go by because now you have a future and that's how they manipulate you because now you have another human being to look after? Or will you say
so I feel that I've got a great platform on YouTube. I've been on YouTube since 2007. YouTube have got their laws. The laws are increasingly tightened. As we see every month, we get an email saying such and such a part of the community guidelines has been revised. So I study that stuff very vehemently, because 2 years ago, when I was covering a case that I'm no longer allowed to cover on this platform, we had 60 million.
Maybe we can talk about it there.
We had 60 million views on the case of Jeffrey, and the channel.
No conspiracy here at all.
I woke up, and the channel was gone, and it was only thanks to the kindness and support of the viewers who were contacting YouTube and lobbying me. Thanks, Storm, for the super sticker. Were lobbying YouTube to get me back on, that I got the platform. I got returned to the platform. But what happened was I got about 30 grade A strikes, and the algorithm was just bombarding me, and then it got took down again. So what I've learned is I appreciate the opportunity that YouTube has given me, because it has been a life changer. I've met so many wonderful people such as you guys through this platform. I've learned so much from interviewing people through this platform. So I now know where to draw the line, and I've got my Rumble, I've got my locals, and my viewers know they can go to Rumble and they can go to locals and watch the uncensored content. So I'm not completely gagged. I've just moved what I can't say here over to there.
Yeah, but Rumble is also owned by Google, isn't it? It's
No.
part of Google, isn't it? And Google is...
No, Rumble's completely independent. If Rumble was part of Google, there would be no letter needing to be written by Parliament. It would have just been straight demonetized.
I should join it again.
I'm pretty sure Rumble is just some dude. Is it not? Is it just not like some guy that just decided to...
There's various investors. You can buy Rumble shares. The stock market value went down to less than $4.50 after the Russell Brand situation, and it used to be up around $13-14 a share, but it's back over $5 today.
I just want to say as well,
about Truth Social, that's you know that on Twitter now you can stream, you can do, but I don't know how it works with the monetization, if it's the same as YouTube or what, but you can stream there, you can post your videos, you can do a lot more there now, and I've been absolutely blown away. And you know what's the feature that I love about Twitter? That if it's a lie, they check it and say, this is a lie.
Yeah, I don't use Twitter. I know a lot of you do. I just want to say, just once again, to Storm66 who sent the super sticker there. Listen, thank you to anyone who supports what Sean's channel does and represents. I think there's a lot of misconceptions as channels grow, people become millionaires and all this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, Sean has a team of people, right, who depend on this channel. Like, it would be a devastating day for a lot of people if this channel went away. And when you put financial support into it, like it's supporting this entire business that that's running behind the scenes. So I just want to say thank you for me, because I'm one of the wheels in that cog, in that machine. And really,
thank you. Definitely thank you for the super chat. Everything we make, we put it right back into producing content.
Yeah, but do you find now that Siggy has been born that you're more worried about losing the platform, or that you're going to be more careful about what you say, or you're going to comply more, or how do you see it? Like, because now you're seeing it as a father. Before, I'm a single guy, I'm going to rumble and stuff like that.
I think it's about playing the game, isn't it, Sean? It's about jumping through the hoops on YouTube and then having your rants in places where it's safe to do that.
Well, having started the channel in 2007 and then lost it in 2021, I think it was.
Yep.
So I'd been building it up for 14 years. Can you imagine? After that, I've just been vigilant ever since.
You lost your channel in the same 24-hour period I lost my channel.
Why did you lose your channel?
Oh, I was bullying and harassing child predators. That's
pretty much.
That's for sure. We can't have that. That's for sure.
Have that.
No. How about you, Sean? I mean,
same.
From doing their job.
Same. Mine was the same reason.
Bullying and harass. It was brilliant.
Cyberbullying.
So, yeah.
And they label it. This is the scary part that I see a lot of communist people go. They go, we're doing it because we know what's best for you is for the good of the. Like how you said Offcom phrased it. It rang so many bells, because it's for your own good. And then I'm going to send you a couple of links, Sean, and you're going to see what happened to me. And I'm going to send you a couple of links. No, it's news. I'm going to send you news that's happened, not only to me. So, but it's and it's all under terrorism, because anything can be labeled terrorism.
Wow, that's insane. I can't wait.
The university can be sued. The entire university body can be sued as terrorist and lose its accreditation within 7 hours, I think it was, that they decided that they were going to trial take this university, the university, and went to, and within 7 hours it was gone.
Yeah, once they introduced the Patriot Act, it was all over.
Yeah.
I just want to, just for people that are watching here, like, we moan about our freedoms here and in the US. Where Paula is, it is mental, okay? Bonkers level that we can't even fathom. Okay?
Canada. You're on about Canada?
No, I'm not in Canada right now. But
you've moved from Canada, but Canada was bad, right?
Canada
was bad.
I'm Canadian, and I lived a lot of time in Europe and Norway. In the United States, I lived in UK. Sorry, I lived in Richmond, and then in Hampshire Heath. I forget about that. And first I lived in Richmond, and then Hampshire Heath, and then I went back to Norway. Lived in Spain, a long time in Europe, and then I moved back here, and then I go to Norway again, and Canada. I am Canadian, so people a lot of times say, why do you speak against the royal family? And it's like, I am speaking for the monarchy. If a royal gets in the crossfire, tough, but there are certain institutions that people don't like. Democracy, if somebody's behaving anti-democratically, I speak out against it.
So is censorship worse in Canada than America?
No, actually, in Canada, you get more news. For example, Canadians, we band together when Meghan Markle and Harry moved to British Columbia, and we found out we were paying for their security there. And there was a petition that within a week raised over 80,000 signatures. So that idiot Trudeau had to say, okay, but on March, you're done. We're done paying for security. So Canadians are right now, I don't know if you heard about this. There was a huge demonstration in Ottawa against LGBTQ. I don't know how many syllables there are in school, because kids were not felt safe in school, that females should be female in bathrooms. I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation after all the science, it's bonkers. It's bonkers, So, but you have a huge follow. I mean, I watch your channel a lot, Sean, and you have no idea how many people write to me, don't go on that man's channel. He's this, he's that. And blah. Oh, how disappointed they are in me, like they're going to write to YouTube to tell me because I'm with the likes of you. And I'm like, are you serious?
That all started when I was going after the Jeffrey case. So then all of these campaigns were put out against me to try and destroy my reputation. And that's when I got called into. That's when I got called into the cop shop. That's when I lost my channel twice. All that stuff happened when I started reporting on the Jeffrey case. So they put all these things out to try and destroy my reputation. And to this day, you know, I still have to deal with all that. We had to file lawsuits and all kinds of things.
Are you serious? That's so costly.
It's mental,
it was,
Paula. We can't talk about it anymore. We've said it too many times. Like, it's freaking me out. Like, we need to just change the fucking subject, okay? I'm getting a fucking headache. Amy wants to be a mod.
Ron, I told you that okay, guys. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I did hire a genealogist because Meghan Markle claimed to be 43% Nigerian. In 2015 or 16, she claimed she was from Malta and that she had taken a genealogist with her to Malta. She declared that on the Rachel Ray show. So even though now it's been confirmed that none of her relatives are from Malta, they're Irish, Scottish, and other. But
again, I can't wait for you to do this, and I'm just steering us off because it's a slippery slope for me and Paula. We'll start ranting about the Royals. So we're just going to.
No.
Perhaps we should wrap it up here, Ron. We've done 2 hours.
We're going to wrap it. The reason why I wanted to tell you this is because
I'm with you.
As a PhD,
she's
done this all her life, and as soon as I told her I was going to do this, she's terrified because of the backlash.
I can't wait, Paula. When you mentioned it, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. You told me it's genius. It's genius, and I honestly I can't wait.
It's the backlash that people are terrified of. It's the censorship. It's being canceled. You know, just like you, Sean. I mean, you ended up at a police station. You got your channel canceled, right, Ron?
Yep. I'm just checking the likes. If we're not at 500 likes, I'm just going to sit here and talk about Pokemon until you get me to 500 likes. Okay. And I can talk a lot about Pokemon. So can we just get up to 500? Oh, we're at 585. I stand corrected.
The guy who said he was number 500.
I'm sorry.
So how do you see this Brand Russell to play with the algorithm? How do you see this playing out?
So the lawyer that we interviewed last week, he said there's a best case and a worst case scenario. Best case scenario is that it doesn't become a criminal matter, but London Metropolitan Police have announced that they are investigating complaints, allegations have been made to the police now. All the mainstream media are calling for people to go to the police, of course. So the best case scenario for him is that it doesn't become a criminal case. Worst case scenario is that he has criminal charges in California and the UK and could face prison time in both jurisdictions. So he could end up like Julian Assange.
That's right. Do you know what? I think that's a good cliffhanger. I think that should be what we discuss on the next show. We'll look at the possibilities and the parallels with Assange and the outcome where America gets involved.
That thing, you know that he did seek refuge in Central America.
Who did?
Julian Assange. He did seek refuge in Central America.
Julian Assange would have been at the point where he would have tried to dig a hole in the ground at one point to get away. That's how deep he was. I just want to say to all the people that were saying they love Pokemon, if you jump on to my new channel, Rook Collects, ROOQKOLX, Rook Collects, I'm starting content there. I stream once a week on a Sunday on Twitch doing Pokemon stuff. I've got a Whatnot channel. Just support the Pokemon. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, listen. I think we should leave it on this cliffhanger. I think we should come back to that. Snowden's another belter to throw in the mix as well. And I also want to touch on Tim Ballard.
He was involved in that.
Yeah, I want to touch on Tim Ballard this week because it's very rare to someone get accusations when you read it and there's really no accusations. Like it's mad. So I think we need to start looking now. And I think it's important, Sean, that we take cases that are similar to build the data. Because sitting here and just talking about one case and then throwing some, non-really researched on that evening reference back to another case, if we build something visual, right, where we have all these cases and the same outcomes and all the rest, like I'm doing my wedger with that other case, I think that would help everyone, because I think when you see so much of it laid out, it's harder to deny the coincidence. Because when coincidence happens once, sure, but when it's 200 years of coincidence and systems in place, I think it's I think it would do our viewers justice to visualize this as well as hear it. So let's get
And the viewers are asking where they can find your channels. The links are in the description box for Paula's channel and Ron's channel, so please support them.
You can find me at projectrook.com. It's on the screen. All my links are there. All my content's there. Everything I do with Sean's there. All my old content there that got banned is there. Pokemon's there. It's a good time, people. Okay? Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Much love and respect wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next time. Thank you.